Hi everyone, and just a quick update video because I know I'm trying to update as much as I can, and so many of you want to know what's going on, and I get that totally. First of all, I just want to say that I am overwhelmed by the support. I know I say this a lot and it probably sounds flippant, but it truly, truly matters. And all of your messages that I'm getting across Twitter and Facebook and YouTube, Instagram, and the emails of support, and some of you amazing people have sent gifts and cards to the hospice where we're at, and that's, I mean, I'm blown away by that, and it's just really beautiful. Thank you so much. And many of you are strangers to me, really, other than through social media. So when people say that social media is like a bad thing and we should never use it, well, I say they're very wrong, because I've connected with some just incredible people across social media, and the power and force of feeling this collective army of people supporting is it's really powerful. So thank you, truly. Where we're at right now, the last few days Ross has probably been the same. He's very sleepy. We get moments of mini conversation. Well, I say I don't really get very much at all, because I'm the constant, I'm the person that's here. And but when people come in, he's had some lovely visitors, family and close friends, and when they come in, you know, they get moments, and I know a few of them have had some really beautiful moments with him, and it all seems more poignant when you get those moments now. I get tiny moments, but that's not really my job right now, to have those moments, because as hard as that can sometimes be, my moments with Ross, I know who Ross is, I know how he feels about me and the family, and I just have to be the constant for Ross. You know, I have to be somebody that when he feels worried, I'm there, and he doesn't need to show that to me. Like, it really, like, that's not the job of us now, the close family, me and particularly his mum. It's very similar with her. Ross can be, he can be himself, which means he can just relax and not have to try, whereas when new people come in, you know, he wants to make an effort, of course. And Ross is a showman, like, he likes to have an audience. So I don't know if I said this on the last video or not, but then he has been still in his own, you know, way, still trying to wind the nurses up. So one of the nurses came out and said to me, has Ross got a dry sense of humour? Because obviously, like, he's not speaking he's very, very quiet and very hard to understand. And I was like, only as fuck. Like, yeah, really dry. She was like, oh, thank goodness, I thought we'd offended him. And I was like, I'm not sure that's possible, so don't worry about it, you'll be fine. Apparently when they'd put on, like, they call it a wrap around a nappy, when they put that on, he had said, what are you dressing me like a baby for? But he was joking. He was just trying to make them feel a bit uncomfortable. It's just what Ross does, it's his humour. But yeah, the nurses are, oh, they're so good. Really, really incredible. Okay, so we had a conversation. The doctors came in yesterday and we discussed what was the best course of action. They've decided not to give Ross chemo again, which he had the 5 days on the lead up to coming into hospice, so it really didn't do anything, and they certainly don't think it's done anything notable. They gave him some steroids when he was here. Since he's been here, they've given him a really high dose of steroids, and they hoped that that might have had an impact in terms of his sleeping, his sleepiness, but they don't feel like it has had a big enough impact to warrant keeping him on such a high dose of steroids. So the conversation yesterday was really sort of them just wanting to know how, you know, Ross wanted to die, basically. In terms of, you know, did he want to be somewhere else, or to which I, you know, said no, he's fine. Like, Ross isn't attached to things or places in that way. it's not like he needs to go home or it's just not who he is. And she just asked what was the best that we hoped for while we're here, and we just said a comfortable death, right? We understand the severity of it, so, and she kind of, the doctor looked like she'd been let off the hook a little bit, because she, some people will just say cling on, whatever, regardless, which I think is inhumane. And I think she just said that's a good course of action, and we can offer that, we can do that. And Ross was listening. Ross was sort of in and out of being awake, but he was listening, and I checked in with him to see that he was comfortable with everything that I was saying. So they've decided to reduce the steroids gradually. If Ross is in any discomfort or anything like that, they'll go back up. But it's basically a case of letting the disease take its course and making sure Ross is comfortable and being there for him. And that's quite frightening, I felt, and some of you saw my post on Facebook and Instagram, but I felt quite scared the other night that I was, his breathing was quite laboured, and I was just gonna, I think the other night I just wasn't really ready to, I just wasn't ready to hear him take his last breath. Like, I just wasn't ready, and I was scared, which is normal, and yesterday, it sounds ruthless, but I'm trying to detach myself a little bit from the situation, which is also a healthy coping mechanism. I can deal with the sadness full out when it happens, but at this stage, I need to be a level of calm, and I need to be a level of, okay for Ross, because he's here and he's having moments of not pure clarity, but he's having moments of him, and he doesn't need to see me crying during those moments or not having it together, because I want him to feel safe and that it's okay for him to be scared if he needs to be, although it's not really who Ross is, so I don't envisage that happening, but it might. He's still desperately trying to do things himself, and as much as he can, I'll let him. He's trying to feed himself, but a lot of the time that his coordination is so off, it's going everywhere. But I'd rather he did that and found that out than me always going in to feed him. But it's hard, because you just want to help, so it seems like, okay, so the thing cut off again because I have zero storage on this phone at the moment, and I don't really have time to sit and edit this perfectly, so it will be terrible edits between, as you can understand. So this is where we're at. Hospice are incredible, amazing, and the fact that this is funded by people blows my mind. 8.8 million to keep this hospice and the Mighton hospices in this area afloat every year, and that is funded by people power. I mean, that is just the most beautiful thing that I can possibly imagine, and it's terrible that has to happen, and that we as a society don't, not as a society, because we as a society do see it as a good thing, but it's not factored in some way, because there's people in here that have nobody, and it surprises me how few visitors most people are having. I know obviously a lot are quite old, but it's quite sad, and what do people do? We are lucky in some ways, like in many ways, not some ways, in many ways, and we have such a lot of support and access to stuff and people and things, and yet we need this, we do need this to protect Ross and to give Ross the safest environment to be in, and that if this wasn't here, I'm not sure what people would do, I'm not sure what we would do. It's just incredible. So I know some of the staff here, and I've been following. I did an article for the Huffington Post yesterday, lessons from the hospice, and that went out, and some of the hospice people have read that, and you need to read that, because you are unbelievable, like the care and thought and just the dignity that you give people is a beautiful thing, and I really appreciate it for Ross. Yeah, so we're gonna have the girls stay over at some point this week, and they're coming over this morning, which is better for them because they've been coming over at night, and it's quite distressing because they get quite emotional because they're tired. So we wanted to see how they got on in the morning. There's lots for them to do here, and they do like playing here and stuff, but there's been a lot of hard questions again over the last week, which is tough, but do you know what? We just got to get on with it. And I'm sure some people will, you know, read stuff and think, I don't know, maybe that I'm in some kind of denial, and you'd be probably right. Like, I'm sure I am, but this is my way of dealing with stuff, and this is our way, and there's no right or wrong, and we don't know what we're doing, and we're just trying our best to get through things, and we're doing okay. You know, we're doing okay, and it's largely thanks to the huge support that we have around us, so thank you.